So we could talk about this Lillard versus Kyrie situation. Taylor Rooks of the Bleacher Report held a podcast with Jason Tatum where she discussed what a superstar is. Here's what she had to say.
So you'll start naming them, and then you say, well, is this player actually in the same category as a LeBron or Steph? And so if you have those two people as kind of what your marker is, what other players are in that tier? Do you get what I'm saying?
I'm almost afraid to ask you, like, is this person a superstar? Like, I want to ask you, like, because you said there's only 6.
I, in my head, think it's 6. But, I mean, it doesn't matter to me. You can ask
Is
me.
Kyrie Irving a superstar?
Yes, Kyrie is.
So, okay. Damian Lillard a superstar?
I think that Damian has all of the superstar qualities, but it's hard to put him in this moment because of...
Now, I only remember Rooks from the bubble where it seemed like every young female, whether it was FS1, whether it was ESPN, they were all trying to make a name for themselves in their career. You had Malika Andrews, who was standing like 10 or 27, however many feet from the mouth.
I was standing probably 25 feet from the mouth of the locker room when I started to hear yelling and screaming, and it sounded like a chair or something heavy was being thrown at the wall. And then I saw Marcus Smart leave the locker room, head towards the restroom, and he was still yelling back and swearing. And
then you had Taylor Rooks asking one of the most important questions of our time.
So you didn't kneel during the anthem, but you also didn't wear a Black Lives Matter shirt. Do you believe that Black Lives Matter?
Now, putting Rooks aside, let's talk about what makes an NBA superstar in my view. So here's my little graphic of the criteria that I have for what makes an NBA player a superstar. So number 1 is they had to have won a championship as the best player on the team. So you think of guys like Giannis, Kawhi, Steph Curry, LeBron, Durant. The second thing is they must have gotten to a conference final as the leader of the team and have won an individual award. So you look at guys like James Harden. He's been to the Western Conference Finals as the best player. He's a 2-time MVP, so he kind of fits that criteria. Then the last one is have multiple awards and have led your team to at least the playoffs. So you think of guys like Nikola Jokic lately. And then there's Rudy Gobert. He's a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year. But I wouldn't say Rudy Gobert led those Utah Jazz teams when he was there. That was more Donovan Mitchell. So with these criteria in mind, it's easy to see why I don't consider Damian Lillard or Kyrie to be superstars. They're both Hall of Fame talents, but you would have to play them as the second best players on a team if you wanted to win a championship. Superstar players equal championship level players. That's my basic breakdown for what a superstar. When you tell me an NBA player is a superstar, to me that means that year in and year out, you have a chance to win the championship. So if I had to choose between Lillard and Kyrie, I would lean more towards Dame Dollar, aka loyalty is all I know. I mean, if you look at their head-to-head matchups, they're pretty similar in production. They have similar all-star appearances. Kyrie has the championship with LeBron, but Damian Lillard has more all-NBA appearances. So I would go with Dame because while Kyrie played with one of the greatest players in LeBron, Lillard has never had a talent of that regard. Now, some could say Lillard is so loyal that it works against him. You could also argue that he takes so much of the money as a superstar, like a super max player. Out of the cap, they don't have a lot of room to bring in a player of that magnitude. And then third is Portland. I mean, it's going to be hard to convince people to come to Portland when they can just go to California, which is one state lower. So the other thing is Damian Lillard had to play against the best teams. He had to play against those Houston Rockets teams. He's had to play against Nikola Jokic. He's had to play against Steph Curry. So while Damian Lillard has had to play against those guys who I put in this criteria, Kyrie Irving is always a teammate of those guys. So whether it's LeBron James, whether it's Kevin Durant, played with two of the greatest players like I was just talking about, but only has 1 ring and 2 playoff series wins in the last 5 years to show for it. So while Damian Lillard is still the best player on his team year in and year out, and they may lose in the first round, Kyrie Irving is always playing with arguably 2, especially in this generation, 2 of the top 5 greatest players, and all he has to show for it is 1 ring. So I say all of this to say superstars are rare, and that's what makes them great. So to understand my point, here's Steph Curry's career compared to both Uncle Drew and Loyalty Lillard. There are only 5 superstars in the NBA. Now I know Jason Tatum in the interview was shocked at 6 as the count. But for me, I would only have to go with 5. And again, I would throw James Harden and Jokic in there. So now you're looking at 6 or 7 guys. But the list doesn't get too much more than that. Everyone else are all-star, stars, and role players, and that's okay. Just because you're the best player on your team, that does not make you a superstar. But let me know what you think. Do you think Lillard and Kyrie are superstars? Do you agree with my criteria? Do you have your own criteria? So let me know, what do you think makes an NBA player an NBA superstar? Comment on your way out and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks.